Does it feel like inflation is eating your future? Rent, insurance, healthcare. It never ends. What if the escape was hidden in Italy, on the slopes of Lake Como for just 44,000 euros? That is less than a new car. What makes it magic isn't only the price, but the daily life, the foods, the paths, the weekly habits that make each place feel different. On one stop, you'll find a town where festivals feed you risotto for free. On the other, ferries replace your car. But the first place is the one that makes you wonder why you waited so long. CREMIA? The first breath here is pine and stone dust, the kind of air that makes coffee taste like a ritual. A footpath kicks off beside an old dry stone wall and slips into chestnut shade. Down below, the lake glints through leaves like a pocket of silver. A bell marks the hour and the hill answers with birds. Life runs on the slope. You walk to water along mule tracks that link hamlets, errands becoming short, safe walks. 10 minutes down, pebble coves wait. Afternoons bring a breeze that fills sails and stirs the lake alive. On festival weekends, the waterfront sets long tables. Big pans of risotto simmer with lake perch, butter, and sage. Volunteers from local families ladle bowls and smile because they have done this for years. It is friendly, uncomplicated, and affordable. Daily shopping is easy once you find a rhythm. The butcher and the baker sit close to the shore. A small grocer keeps lemons, herbs, and essentials. Buy what is fresh and what the place does well. Lake fish, greens, bread from a hot oven. You can carry everything in one tote. Most days you will. Groceries can stay between 250 and 350 euros if you cook local and seasonal. Dining out can be simple. A full plate at a trattoria often stays under 20 euros, and a coffee at the counter remains a small coin. Plus, the buses along the North Shore are affordable, and a monthly local transit pass often sits between 35 and 50 euros if you use it. But ferries are pay-as-you-go and feel like a small treat rather than a bill. If you keep a car, fuel becomes your big variable, so plan your errands together. And visas are straightforward too if you plan. The common path for retirees is the elective residence visa. You apply at your home country consulate. You show sufficient passive income to support yourself without working in Italy. Proof of accommodation, a clean background, and comprehensive private health insurance for the first months. After arrival, within 8 days, you request the residence permit, called the Permesso di Soggiorno, at the local post office, and finalize it at the police headquarters. Once you register your legal residence with the town hall, you can enroll in the National Health Service either by paying a yearly contribution or by continuing with private coverage. The elective residence visa does not allow employment in Italy, which suits a true retirement. Plus, healthcare stays predictable here. Private insurance for retirees commonly ranges between 50 and 120 euros per month, depending on age and coverage. A visit with a general practitioner can be as little as 25 to 40 euros. If you measure peace by proximity to care, larger hospitals are reachable by the lakeside road within roughly 40 to 50 minutes, depending on traffic and your exact hamlet. Janet, 68, came for 2 weeks and stayed 3 months. She rented a small one-bedroom for about 600 euros, learned the baker's name on day 3, and started timing her morning walk by the bell. When she found home online, she did the math and realized she could fix the roof this year and the floors next spring. Most afternoons, she carries groceries up the mule track, lemons, herbs, a paper bag of lake fish, and calls it her exercise. The first time she ate perch risotto at the festival, the neighbor slipped an extra ladle into her bowl and said, "Welcome." It felt like permission to belong. Now let's talk about the utilities. Monthly utilities for a small home usually land between 120 and 180 euros when you heat with care. Internet is steady and commonly falls between 25 and 35 euros. If you decide to rent a one-bedroom rental near the shore, often runs between 500 and 750 euros. Just outside the center, expect 400 to 600 euros. But you could just buy a house and live this kind of dream life. It is a 2-cabin cluster offered as a full renovation project for about €8,400. One stone cabin sits uphill, the second sits slightly below. A small garden connects them. This layout gives you options. Live in the one you stabilize first. Work on the other when time and budget allow. You are not forced to finish everything at once. Now, if you are more of a fan of a wooden bench by the shore, a hot bowl of perch risotto in your lap, and a slow climb home on a mule track under early fireflies, this next place will make you melt. DONGO. Gulls chatter, masts clink, stone warms under the porticos. The ferry glides out and the quay slows to coffee and conversation. Here, the street carries a story beneath your shoes. Inside the old council hall, a museum rebuilds the final week of a war with voices, photographs, and objects. You run errands with history at your elbow. That weight is steady, not heavy. It gives the place a calm dignity. Evenings in summer, the promenade changes costume. Stalls appear with handmade goods, vintage finds, jars of preserves, and wheels of cheese. Someone offers a slice of the local bread pudding, called miasia. It turns stale bread into comfort using milk, apples, pears, and a trace of rosemary. You sit by the water, sails tilt with the breeze. The town feels like it set a table for everyone. A one-bedroom rental near the promenade often runs between €600 and €850. Outside the core, expect €500 to €700. Utilities for a compact stone home usually sit between €130 and €190 if you heat and ventilate well. Groceries stay manageable around €270 to €370 when you cook at home and use markets. Internet commonly falls between €25 and €35. Dining out is modest, with full plates often under €20 and coffee still a small coin at the counter. You can live on foot. A monthly bus pass is roughly €35 to €50. Ferries are pay as you go. Private insurance runs €50 to €120. A general practitioner visit is €25 to €40. Larger hospitals sit about 30 to 45 minutes away. The visa requirement is the same as before. So let me just tell you about Mark, who taught history for 40 years and thought he was done with exhibits. Then he moved into a walk-up near the quay and started spending 10 quiet minutes a day inside the town museum. One room, one story, then coffee under the arches. He lives on foot now, groceries in a tote, a coffee that never feels like a splurge. On summer Wednesdays, he wanders the promenade market with a few coins and always comes home with miasia wrapped in paper. The biggest adjustment? Stairs and the town's rhythm. Lively in warm months, hushed in winter. He says that hush is why he writes again. See, the properties found here have character to them. There is a portion of a stone building offered for nearly €38,000 right now. You do not own the whole palazzo. You own cellars and floors, with stairs connecting the story of your life to the story on the street. That partial structure is why it is still for sale. For you, it means a central address without a central price. Renovation can be staged one level at a time so your budget breathes. But let's say you don't want to make that trade. Well, let me tell you about a place that solves all of this. ERNO. There is a certain kind of quiet that makes you lower your voice without thinking. Smoke draws a thin line from a chimney and spreads a scent that says, the day will end with a spoon and a bowl. Pines stand like watchmen along the ridge. Somewhere below, ferries cross and recross, but up here you measure time in light. Paths came first. Roads tried to catch up. Steps cut into the hillside point. You toward what matters. The garden, the balcony, the neighbor who sets out eggs at the gate with a handwritten price. On many tables sits a cheese with a valley accent. Zincarlin, a peppered, seasoned ricotta from goats or cows' milk whey. Young, it is spreadable and shy. Aged, it is bold and honest. It lands on polenta, on rough bread, sometimes beside a spoon of honey that traveled only a few terraces. Groceries feel like friendships. The shopkeeper saves you a handful of mushrooms when the woods are generous. A farmer waves off coins with a smile and says, "Bring a jar of jam next time." Sundays smell like something that has been cooking slowly since noon. You will not find a glossy shoreline here, but you will find a balcony where you can see the weather arriving. And right now, there is a simple townhouse measuring roughly 75 square meters with an attic, a fenced garden, and modern connections including fiber for seamless calls to family. The asking price sits around 65,000 euros. It is the kind of house that looks better at 5 in the evening, when the light turns warm and you set a pot to simmer. In the morning, you can be on a ferry in minutes. By afternoon, you can be back among chestnut trunks, listening to leaves talking to the wind. That is the secret of this place. Lena and Arturo, a couple who told me that they wanted weather they could feel but not fight, moved here about 2 years ago. They found their balance to life: balcony mornings, winter ventilation, and a surprise wedge of Zinkarland tucked into their bag. Sundays now mean a pot on the stove, family calls, and chilito by the lake. And here, costs stay gentle. A one-bedroom in a hamlet commonly ranges between 450 and 700 euros. Fenced garden homes cost a bit more to heat, but lower dining out. Utilities usually sit between 130 and 200 euros in winter when insulation is sensible. Groceries can stay between 250 and 350 euros if you cook valley staples and lake fish. Internet via fiber or mobile commonly runs between 25 and 35 euros. Meals out are gentle, often 12 to 20 euros for a plate and a glass. Plus, insurance runs 50 to 120 monthly. A doctor's visit, 25 to 40. Hospitals sit 40 to 50 minutes away. Now this all sounds great, right? But what about stone steps through thyme and vines with a horizon that shows 2 lakes at once? If that second line makes you smile, you need to know about this next place. CORRIDO, green to one side, blue to the other. Terraces climb like patient handwriting, and old footpaths still whisper stories from the border days. Your loop is simple. Trim rosemary, follow the Oaken Beach Trail, end in a grotto where bread bites back and cheese winks. Keep the basket humble and local. Herb liqueur, dense bread, valley cheese, mushrooms in season. Let the terrace be your second pantry. A few vines, thyme and sage, tomatoes that taste like sun. Costs stay gentle. A small place often rents for 400 to 700 euros. Utilities run 130 to 200 euros. Groceries about 240 to 340 euros. Internet, 25 to 35 euros. Dinner plates 12 to 18 euros. You will likely keep a car for short, scenic errands. You will likely keep a car. Errands become scenic loops. Private insurance commonly ranges between 50 and 120 euros per month. A general practitioner visit often costs 25 to 40 euros. Hospitals along the lake are reachable by the main road in roughly 50 to 60 minutes, depending on weather and traffic. Helen, 71, never cared about plants until a neighbor showed her how to pinch rosemary and taste the oil on her fingertips. Now mornings start on the terrace. A few vines, a row of tomatoes, herbs everywhere. Errands became scenic loops. Hardware store, market, a glass at the grotto where they remember her name. After rain, she checks the steps and laughs at the hillside taught her patience. Groceries shrank as the terrace gave back. Her favorite habit is standing still while the view keeps moving. For visas, the steps repeat. Do that, and you can get 2 small rustic buildings offering about 60 square meters of living space and terraces, stretching into the low thousands of square meters, listed around 79,000 euros. There's a balcony for morning coffee and a cellar that smells like thyme. Stand still and the view keeps moving. Catches are part of the character. Steps matter. Parking can be a dance. After rain, the hillside asks for patience. The reward is a stage where light performs all day. But there is only one way to only solve these problems, and it seems like one place has got that figured out. A place where your evening walk follows a river with no cars, where crickets and fireflies become your soundtrack, and neighbors sell their produce in a market that moves from town to town. If this has sparked ideas for your future, subscribing supports us, and make sure you never miss the next place. ROVELLASCA. The day opens with the creak of a courtyard gate and the smell of bread. You cross a cobbled square where voices bounce under porticos, and then slip onto a path that forbids engines. The soundscape changes at once. Tires become whispers, birds replace horns, and the river takes over as the metronome of your morning. You step onto a path, and everything softens. No engines. Tires whisper. Birds take the soundtrack. The river keeps time. This green ribbon runs quiet through the region. Long stretches have no roads beside them. Meadows, woodlands, and fields drawn with a neat hand. When dusk lands, fireflies rise like shy lanterns. Courtyard life pairs well with a careful budget. A one-bedroom inside the core often runs between 500 and 750 euros. Outside the center, 450 to 650 euros is common. Utilities typically land between 120 and 180 euros. Groceries can hold at 250 to 350 euros with the markets and home cooking. Internet usually falls between 25 and 35 euros. Many meals out stay under 20 euros. Transit can be nearly car-free. The protected river corridor, town buses, and regional trains keep costs low. A monthly pass often sits between 35 and 50 euros. Dev and Priya were tired of traffic. They traded a car commute for bikes and a monthly bus pass. Mornings belong to the river path. Evenings, they walk just to see fireflies lifting from the grass like shy lanterns. They spend less without trying. Markets set the menu. The park is their gym. And the best gossip lives under the portico with two small glasses. The only surprise was the courtyard parliament on paint colors. Priya calls it adorable. Dev calls it democracy with espresso. But the best part, private insurance for retirees typically ranges between 50 and 120 euros per month. A general practitioner visit often lands between 25 and 40 euros. Major hospitals are reachable within roughly 40 to 50 minutes by car, depending on the route. And there is a home inside a classic courtyard. It is about 183 square meters over 2 floors, asking near 75,000 euros. Step into stone shade that acts like natural air conditioning. Neighbors learn your dog's name before they remember yours. Errands run on feet, not fuel. But now, let me tell you about a place where it explodes once a year with drums, banners, and a donkey race that shakes the air. The next village hangs flags and keeps bragging rights for a full year. FENEGRO. Drums warm up out of sight. Flags bloom from balconies. 5 neighborhoods tune up for the week that matters most. Parades, alley relays, and the donkey race that decides bragging rights for a full year. This is a place that remembers how to be a village. Children rehearse with wooden swords. Grandparents set chairs on doorsteps and immediately begin telling stories about who won last time and why. Between festivals, mornings belong to the pine forest. Flat, soft paths, resin on the air, birds for a soundtrack. Costs stay friendly. A one-bedroom or small house often rents between 450 and 700 euros. Utilities for a larger shell under renovation can touch 150 to 210 euros until you upgrade windows and heat. Afterward, expect 130 to 190 euros. Groceries typically sit between 240 and 340 euros, when markets and simple home cooking lead. Internet commonly lands between 25 and 35 euros. A full meal often stays under 20 euros. Cycling in the pine forest keeps transit costs low. Buses link nearby towns, and a monthly pass often falls between 35 and 50 euros. Private insurance ranges between 50 and 120 euros monthly. A visit with a general practitioner often costs 25 to 40 euros. Larger hospitals are within roughly 40 to 50 minutes by car along the main corridors. The property here is generous and honest. A 3-sides-free house with a small garden listed near 49,000 euros. Carve a ground floor suite for easy aging in place. Keep rooms upstairs for guests. Grow tomatoes and swap zucchini over the fence. Meet Nora, a 69 who arrived for the festival and stayed for the neighbors. Now her weeks move with the village rhythm. Quiet, green, affordable. Weekdays are quiet, a ride through the pines at 7, tomatoes traded over the fence by noon, a nap when the whole town goes soft. Renovation moves one practical step at a time. Windows before wallpaper, permits before paint. All of this because she has a house in FENEGRO, but just downhill, there is a creekside cottage where water replaces drums. Before we close, I'd love to know your thoughts. Was there a town or a story here that really caught you off guard? Let me know in the comments. CREMIA, Streamside. The day begins with water speaking in its own language. It tumbles over stone, threads under a footbridge, and spreads a coolness that lingers even when the sun has its way. Dragonflies sketch loops in bright air. The light under the trees has that particular green that turns a page into a meadow. This is not a postcard angle. This is immersion. A cottage stands by a creek that has shaped its bank for generations, and a small bridge leads to a private patch of green that belongs as much to the water as it does to you. The pleasures here are specific: reading at the edge of the sound, setting a table that picks up the creek's glint, walking to the car with damp sandals because you could not resist a silly barefoot wade. Food follows the same micro scale: local fish, herbs from a pot, a lemon sliced thin over everything, a glass of something cold while the leaves trade light back and forth. When events pull you down to the shore, you can fold into a lakeside sagra where risotto with perch fillets is served from big pans by people who learned from their parents. You will eat too much, stay longer than you meant to, and drive home with the windows down so you can rejoin the sound that has already become your favorite neighbor. If that sounds good, there is a rustic two-story with structural stabilization near the creek, offered for around 95,000 euros. The square meters read modest on a page, but they expand when the bridge and the bank are counted as rooms. It is a home for someone who cares more about the quality of a morning than the sweep of a staircase. You will earn your naps here: a garden to sweep, leaves to gather, a small bridge to tend. In return, evenings turn simple moments into ceremony: one candle, two reflections, and a song that becomes your soundtrack. And that's the beauty of it: small places, quiet rituals, and a life that feels rich without costing much. Thanks for being here on this journey. Don't forget to check out the next video on screen. You'll love it if you enjoyed this one.